Right, let's go. So we're gonna jump in today, guys. Being an effective leader, part two. We're gonna dive right in. I wanted to kind of maybe kick it off with a couple things before I jumped into the meat and potatoes, if you will, of the call. And I want to just kind of maybe ask you a rhetorical question. Let kind of let your mind sit with this, let you sit with this, let your heart sit with this. And I said this in the beginning, I haven't lost sight. That's why I personally was reflecting on this over the last, couple weeks or so, but I haven't lost sight of the mission of why I'm here. I haven't lost sight of where I'm going, of the bigger vision. I know oftentimes, and especially this last, week or so, with my family and everything, you go through things in life that will try to deter you and make you lose sight of that bigger vision, make you lose sight of your goals and your purpose and your mission and where you're going, and it can cloud the bigger vision at scale, and it can make you focus only on what's happening right now. And sometimes you have to take care of those momentary things, of whatever's going on. But a lot of times what happens is people will get sucked in to, things and problems of the moment that are temporary, and it will make them, go off of course, of where they're actually going. And it's so much easier said than done, but great leaders will always get themselves back on track. They will, and the reason why is because they know how to lead themselves. And I'm going to get into that a little bit on this call, because a lot of times people will think that, being a great leader and leadership as a whole is about, being able to lead other people. And trust me, there is a portion of leadership that obviously is around developing and building other people and leading other people. But before you can even step into that arena, before you can even step into actually doing that, you have to first be able to lead yourself. And over the last, this whole year in general, but over the last few years of being a part of the academy and this community and this business, it's really kind of implanted this idea that, Abby, you can be somebody much greater, much bigger, than where you are right now. That God-sized vision. And I haven't lost sight of that. And that's why I'm still here. And I believe that that's why you guys are still not just here going through the motions, but you're on this call, you're present, you're taking notes, you're hungry, you have that heart, that desire. And I'm grateful for that. But I just wanted to open that up real quick, because I think sometimes we can go through life and we can think the subtle things, the devil's in our ear. It's not that big of a deal if you don't show up. It's not that big of a deal if you just sleep in just this one time, or you miss that one call, you miss that event, or you miss this, this event or whatever. I haven't lost sight of it. And I encourage you guys to continue day in and day out. Don't let those subtle things, it's okay if I don't do this one time type of thing, because that one time leads into multiple times and leads into a pattern and a habit, and it becomes a way of being, and it becomes who you are. And I know nobody wants to go on that path. So don't lose sight of the vision. Don't lose sight of where you're going, because it is greater, better things are ahead. And I know that. And I want you guys to remember, in order to get there first, it's going to start with where you're at. It's going to start with what you've got in front of you, working with what you have in your life right now, and being able to lead you, being able to build yourself first. And so really, just to kind of kick it off today, going back to the whole goal, the whole mission, the purpose of these calls. For me personally, I take this seriously. It's to build dependable and effective leaders, but I take and I flip that and I say it's to build Abby. I can't get on these calls if I'm not day in and day out building me. It's like I'd be kind of a hypocrite if I'm not doing the things that I'm, sharing with you guys. It's to build dependable and effective leaders. And at the end of the day, as a team, as a unit, as an organization, it's to empower and equip people with financial education, with at the core community. I've seen so many people come and go, and I think one of the major reasons why people come and go and they leave is because they haven't really planted themselves inside of the community, of the group of other people that are here to help, that can be an example, and you can be that example for other people. So I said this last week, or whenever I did this call the first time, the better we get at developing people, the higher caliber people God can and will send you. And that is true. But I want to take it a step deeper. If you want to write this down, the better you get at leading yourself, the better you get at leading and developing you're preparing God to send you others to lead. You're getting yourself ready to receive a team in an organization and people that you can build, but you can't get there until you start to lead and develop yourself. So it starts with you. Take that to heart. You can't just jump from one point to the next. You have to work on you first. So we're going to jump into it. The last time we did this call, I went over 3 things. If you guys remember, the first 3 were to be an effective leader, you have to be able to lead with a soft heart. Okay. You can have soft heart, but tough skin. And you have to be able to, through the momentary things of life, you have to be able to soften your heart, because life's going to make you bitter. Life's going to make you angry. Life's going to make you upset. Life's going to harden your heart to the point where, maybe you just aren't motivated anymore. Maybe you lose sight of that vision. And great leaders are always able to soften their heart no matter the tremendous blows that life is going to throw at you. Number 2 is lead with confidence. Okay. People don't follow the competent leader. They follow the confident leader. Okay. Do you know where you're going? Do you have that vision? Are you crystal clear and can cast that vision, not only for yourself, but for other people? Great leaders lead with confidence. Okay. And the third thing that I went over is lead by being impressed with others. It's that whole saying of, it's not about how bright somebody else's light is. We all have a light, and all my job is to help turn on other people's lights. It's awakening mine and being able to impress that upon other people of, hey, you have a light too, and let me help you turn that on. So being impressed with other people and their light and how they can shine, and helping other people shine their light in the best way that they possibly can. And so those were the 3 from the week before. And just touching base real quick on leadership as a whole. You on this call, you are a leader. And we've said this multiple times over. And sometimes I don't like saying things too much because it kind of saturates the word. It loses its meaning when you say it too much or so many times. But I want to make it apparent that you on this call, you are a leader, and you have to really engage and embrace that. You have to really understand that your influence, because that's all leadership is it's influence. It's a transfer of belief. It's a transfer of values, and not only onto yourself, but onto other people. Everything that you do has a wave, has a ripple effect, and you can make an impact. And sometimes that impact starts out as what we think is small. And I feel like every call I say this. And so when I'm taking my content for YouTube or for my Instagram post, I'm like, yeah, but you say the same thing on every call. So you need to say something different, but it's true. What we think is small, what we think is little, it's not. It's a big deal. And you have to treat the little things that you have or that you may perceive as little right now as the big deal that God just gave you. And you got to work with that. And maybe you haven't received, anybody on your team yet. And when I say receive, I mean, God sends us people. God sends us the work. It's not, all of that is from God. And I know that. I'm not delusional to the fact that all that I have is because of just Abby. No, I understand where it comes from. But maybe you aren't in a place yet where you have a team or you have leaders that you're able to pour into yet. God maybe is trying to speak to you of, hey, let me build you right now. I'm trying to build in you first. Because when I send you the people, when I send you the work, when I send you the places, the events, the whatever, you will be ready. And so take all those things. I got to say this real quick, but don't think like, I haven't brought anybody on or this and that. It's not even about the fact that maybe I haven't brought anybody on or whatever, or I lost this team or whatever. It's not about that. It's what is God trying to say to me right now? What needs to be done right now? What do I need to work on? What do I need to reflect on right now? Because leadership is much more about leading yourself first, and then the people will come. Noah built the ark. The people came. Well, nobody came, but the animals came. You guys get my point, right? The people will come. Okay. Here's a few things to get good at to become an effective leader. Part 2, I'm going to go through the last 3 things. Okay. Y'all ready? Y'all ready to take some notes? Let's get into it. Okay. So part 2. So I guess number 4, kicking off from the last call, is great leaders, effective leaders can lead with self-awareness. They are self-aware. Okay. And I'm going to break this down and what I mean by this. And again, guys, I said this on the previous call. This ain't my info. I'm not just pulling this out of Abby, I study, I'm a learner, and I'm going to talk about on this call. Everything I share is from either personal experience. I've done that, I've been there, or I've studied it and I've gained it. And I want to give it to you guys in a way that hopefully will make sense and is relatable and applicable for you guys to go out and implement. So being aware of your influence and your impact, that's what it means to be self-aware, is to know your influence, is to know your impact. A lot of times we may, and it could be two sides of the spectrum. You could underestimate your influence and your impact, or you could overestimate it. And, there's ego and pride over here. And there's a little bit, not too much humility, but there's just, you don't have that confidence yet. You don't have that self-awareness of like, hey, like you can do stuff. You can go out and, you have a part on this team. You have a role that, on this team that people look up to you. If you're not here, we notice, type of thing. If you don't show up, if you're not in the chat, we notice. And it should be a good thing for you to know, like, hey, yes, I have a ripple effect. My words, my actions, my spirit matter. Okay. And then the other side of the spectrum where you just got to tone it down. Like your influence and impact is there. But you have to know, like, kind of like your middle ground. You have to know where, right where that sweet spot is for you. And so it's kind of finding that grounding point on both sides. But at the end of the day, it's being aware of your influence and your impact, and knowing where you're at maybe on this spectrum, and kind of grounding yourself to the point where you can be the most effective. You can have, the best impact in your own way based on who you are and who God's called you to be. Okay. And I think one of the biggest things that they were maybe talking about in some of the stuff I was listening to and I was reading is how to lose influence. You could have influence and you don't even know it. And that's the part that trips people up. Is the quickest way to lose influence, the quickest way to lose that sense of, ability to make an impact and kind of not grab people's attention and in a way where it's just like, manipulative, but being able to facilitate movement inside of an organization, inside of a group. The quickest way to lose that is just not being aware that you have it at all, or being too caught up in yourself and you don't recognize that you're not making any impact. You're kind of in the way, and you have to reground yourself to here. So there's two sides of it. But most people, they're just not aware. They're just not aware of their influence. And that's the quickest way to lose it, because you don't do anything with it. And if you're not doing anything with it, God can't work with you. And those that are unaware, they don't really recognize their ripple effect. They tend to narrow their influence. And kind of like what I just said, they just don't do anything with what they've got. And I said this on one of my posts the other day. The best thing that you can do, because sometimes it is difficult in the moment to recognize, the long-term effects of where you're going and that bigger vision and those big goals that you have. And I heard this from, I forget where I have all my notes on paper that I write down, and I forget where I'd gotten it from, but you have to be able to steward well. You have to be able to steward what God gave you. So I kept writing on my notebook, focus on winning the day, steward what God gave you, see how God sees. And I think you can't steward anything that you already have if you don't think that you have anything at all. It's kind of like going back to, I don't really have people to lead yet, or, I don't really have a team. I haven't really brought anybody on, or, I have a small team, Abby. You're totally just not even taking any recognition to what you have. And so because you don't even realize that what you have, you can't steward it. And if you can't steward, you can't use, you can't grow, you can't magnify what you already have in your hands, God can't give you more. God's not going to give you more. He's taking that step with you. And if you're not taking that step because you don't realize what you have right here, nothing's going to happen. Nothing's going to happen. Somebody on this call needed to hear that. He gives you the people. He builds it. Okay. He brings them to you. You just got to take that step in recognizing what you have right now. And maybe a lot of us, even myself, like I can't go to the next level until I continue to build on my leadership, and me as an Abby being able to lead Abby better than I am right now. Abby, you can't go to that next level until you can get really good at leading yourself right now. Okay. So awareness allows me to govern my life well, allows me to govern the things that I already have. And I think this last part, and I'll move on to the next point, is feedback. I think a lot of times, and it goes back to that spectrum of, I don't even know that I have any influence and impact ability. I don't think I matter type of thing. I don't think, when I step into the room, like I can move the energy, I can move the spirit of people, I can move their perspective. And then the other side of it's where it's kind of a more, I would say, like egotistical standpoint of like everything's about me type of thing. So it's just two opposites. But I think both sides, and even when you're grounded in the middle, that sweet spot, always asking for feedback, always looking to get critique, and being vulnerable, being open. I think the best sign of somebody looking and leaning in to their leadership growth and development for themselves is questions. They ask questions. If I don't, like, I ask questions and I write it down, and I do, like, what I'll do is I'll like YouTube search it to find, like, I'm studying, like I have certain people that I study, in network marketing and in relationships and business and leadership. And I'll look for that person that I study for the answer. And if I still don't find clarity, I may, I'll text Mike, or I'll text Christian or whoever. And you guys know, like I study a lot of this stuff. And so if you're looking for a follow-up video, if you're looking for, how to prospect or where to find people, like I just say, hey, Abby, did you have a video on that? I want to take a look. Yeah, I got you. You can say that in your, in your arsenal, but they ask questions. They're hungry. They're not afraid to realize where they're at in order to get to where they want to go. Like, I know I have an idea of where everybody is kind of at, just based on our conversations and, whatever. So don't feel some type of way if you're trying to reach out, or maybe not reaching out or second guessing it. Ask questions, come to these calls hungry. I said, on the chat yesterday, if you have a question, ask it on this call. I'm going to open it at the end if you have any questions, but that's like a first sign of like, man, like, that person's really leaning in. So how, some of the questions that I'm always asking myself, even after these calls, I go straight to the room with Alex and I'm like, hey, how did I sound today? How was the message delivered? How did I come across? How was my tone? How was my energy? Do you think the message was received based on my delivery? Like, I'm constantly asking these questions, and then I'll go back and watch the video, not just to hear myself, but like, okay, you maybe could have said this in a different way, or, hey, don't spend too much time here, or, you go on a tangent way too much, Abby, like you need to get back on point. Like, and I'm constantly trying to find ways to improve in other areas. So these are just some examples, right? And the other thing too, I wanted to say this, and this more so has to do with like posting and on, your social media, and even in the chat sometimes and things like that. One thing that I always kind of think about, and Chad Beach said this on his podcast, and I thought it was really powerful. He's always asking himself, this is just one question, should I post that in that way? Should I post this? Should I put that up? And should I do it in that way? And he made a great reference. He was like, it's not that I'm asking that question because I fear what other people think or their opinions. I want to make sure that whatever I'm doing, and this doesn't have to just be a post, this is whatever I am doing, it's about serving the greater good. It's does this align with what I'm trying to do, my aim, my target, and who I am, my values, my beliefs. So, because sometimes we can post things and it's like, that has nothing to do with anything. And I get it if it's a funny thing, like, all right, yeah, like I want to obviously, like, I'm not just a dry, like, human being, add some humor, but you get my point. Like, sometimes like certain maybe political stuff, or really just anything that has nothing to do with what I'm aligned with, do I really need to post that? Or do I want to post this, but maybe I can say it in a different way? So my message, like, what's the message based on the words that maybe I'm angry about, and I want to say this. Maybe I could say it in a different way so that it hits people from a different perspective. It comes from a place of love. That's what I'm trying to get at. And then the last point on this point of leading with self-awareness is accountability. Okay, this is just still point number 1 or 4 for this talk, is accountability. And I think we hear this a lot. It's like, yeah, ownership, take responsibility, things like that. But being a great, effective leader is like, they have that sense of accountability of nobody's coming to just inbox me, how you doing? Nobody's coming to, get me up in the morning for these calls. Like, I'm not in the chat. Like, I send the 1 hour reminder type of thing. But I'm not like, hey, Marin, did you make it to the call today? Hey, Alex, make sure you set your alarm. Hey, Eric, get on the call for this morning. You got to be there, blah, blah, blah. Make sure you send that chat, this text out in the chat. Make sure everybody, I'm not doing that because I want everybody on this call. But I understand at the end of the day, this is a volunteer army. You don't have to be here. These are calls that are early in the morning, and it's designed to, one, help everybody get to where they need to go. And it's kind of out of the way, but like, I'm not like going to be that. I'm not your mom. I'm not a babysitter. Like, if you want to be here, you're going to be here. And that accountability is, I don't expect anybody to come to me. I don't expect anybody to reach out. And that's just kind of the expectations that I have with this business. And when people do reach out, I'm so overwhelmed with gratitude. It's like, wow, you thought of me, like, thank you. But I don't lean on that as a source of, all right, this person's going to help me get to where I want to go. It's like, nah, like, it's going to happen because I'm doing self-audits, because I'm accountable, because I'm taking ownership, and I'm self-aware of, that grounding effect of, I got to get to in that sweet spot. Okay. So accountability, that's huge. A part of leading with self-awareness, just knowing yourself, just knowing your place, just knowing your presence, just knowing the type of impact that you could have when you walk into a space. You do have a big presence, and I need you guys to recognize that. Okay. So let's move on. We're going to get into number 2. I hope this is helpful so far. I'm just reading the chat. Appreciate you guys. All right, let's go. Okay, number 5, we're gonna get into it, is lead. This, I'm gonna be very light when I say this, because I don't want us to be where we're just always consuming and we're not applying. Okay, so take this very lightly, but great leaders, effective leaders, always lead with an idea in their pocket and fresh energy. And maybe some of you guys can recognize why I say that first part lightly. Lead with an idea in your pocket. It means always be ready, always having maybe a quote to reference or something that you just learned. And the whole point of saying that is, you're always a student. I'm never just content with where I'm at. I'm always looking to level up in my leadership, in my efforts to be a better, like Chad Veach said one time, he said, you cannot live a great life without being a great leader. And it starts with leading yourself. Living and leading are one and the same. And so I really took that to heart. I was like, okay, if I want to live a great life, I need to also be able to lead myself in a great way, in an effective way, which will translate in my relationships, and being able to lead an example, make an impact, and, influence people to make positive choices in their life. You guys get my point. But it just means to always be ready. You're always a student. And I always have something in my back pocket to reference if I'm in conversation, if I'm in a call, if I'm, leading somebody else in a certain way, whatever, if I'm out and about. Great leaders always have, like he referenced, when I'm preaching at church or I'm pastoring or whatever, like I always have a Bible verse ready to go type of thing. So the main message is to always just be ready. You can tell when somebody is learning, when they're leaning in, when their leadership, it's kind of this dynamic of receive it, give it, receive it, give it. As soon as I get it, I'm giving it. It's that intake output. Like as soon as I get whatever I'm getting, I'm giving it back. And it's actually kind of if you want to write this down, it's a biblical model. You guys have heard this before. As you freely receive, you shall freely give. To whom much is given, much is required. And I always think about that as I'm continuing to learn, as I'm continuing to, acquire knowledge and information. I have to also be able to steward that. I also have to be able to give that. And the powerful part of being a great, effective leader is you don't have to be on these calls to do that. Or I'm sorry, be on these calls, but you don't have to host a call like this to do that. Like, I don't just steward what I'm learning on these calls. I'm putting it in my social media posts. I'm putting it on my story. I'm doing it in one-on-one conversations that nobody sees and nobody, will hear about. And that's you, and you're doing that already. And so my bottom line is always just be ready, always be a student. And that last part is have fresh energy. Like, the vision and the mission don't change. It pretty much stays the same. Okay. You could critique it here and there, but the vision and the mission stays the same. I said at the beginning, okay, the mission to build dependable, effective leaders. If we have dependable, effective leaders, if you are a dependable, effective leader, if you have people on your team that are dependable, effective leaders, what do you think is going to happen? We're going to be able to make a larger impact, a deeper, more meaningful impact, because we have people around us. You yourself are reliable. You're accountable. You're self-aware. You are always softening your heart. You're leading with confidence. You're impressed with other people. You want to help turn their light on. Okay. And you're always walking into a room recognizing that your spirit, your attitude, your presence, your energy matters. Great leaders, right? I don't miss meetings. I don't miss calls. Because I haven't lost sight of the mission. I haven't lost sight of the vision. I haven't lost sight of where I'm going, of where we're going. And I want you guys to, like, if that's the message of the day on this call, I really want that to sink in with y'all, because I think sometimes we just can go through life and we just don't think that what we do matters, and it does. And I don't want to be cliche, but if God woke you up today, you still have a purpose. You still have a reason to be here. You still have a reason to continue to show up and pour, get and give. So great leaders are always bringing that fresh energy. And I love what Chad Beach said that one time. I was listening to one of his podcasts. He said, the vision and the mission never change, but great leaders know how to, and over time you start to like become innovative and creative with what you're doing. Doesn't mean change the wheel. It just means the vision can be shared in a different way. Like the way that you share the vision can change. The vision is still the same, but the way that you package it is different, because everybody's always learning. Everybody's always growing and changing, and new people are coming in, and the same people are here year after year. And how do you continue to bring life to a situation that sometimes may, from the outside looking in, may not seem, as livable. And I'm trying not to use certain words, but if you're looking from the outside in, and maybe you've been in for a while, and that first initial motivation and fire has kind of left you, how do you continue to cultivate that burning desire, that hunger? You continue to share the vision in a different way. It's the same vision. You're just sharing it in a way that triggers different perspectives, that gives people a reason to look at this from a different light of like, hey, like, we're still here. You remember why you got started. You remember why you made that decision in the first place. You know the job that you have, and it's giving you great stability right now and income to finance and provide for your life. But don't you forget why you got started. You have big goals, you have big dreams, and you know that just being, just having that 9 to 5, just that one source of income ain't gonna work, ain't gonna make it in this economy. And you just, I'm just kind of giving you guys an example, but being able to share that vision in a different way. And the great part about it is, they said this at one of the services that I listened to was like, being able to get into a group of people. Like, I think it was Judah Smith had said this. He said something like, when you can get around other people, like, let's say everybody's kind of going to church, or it's their first time, or, whatever, that the person that's been there for a while, getting connected with that new person that maybe just got involved in going to church, or just got, saved, or just, was reborn, that new energy, that new blood, that fresh energy from that person impacts the person that's been here for a while in a whole different way. And so having people with multiple different perspectives, he said something like, it makes up like what God kind of has designed. I forget, I'll send it to you guys if I remember. I'll say it on next week's call. But that's the same way here. Everybody on here has a different way of how they see things. And so we have to be able to cultivate and share that, so it hits everybody, but also you and your perspective can make a larger impact than you believe. Okay. Leaders are always student. They're always hungry to learn and to give and to grow and things like that. And the last one, guys, we're going to get into number 6. I hope this is hitting for somebody. I hope you guys are getting value. Last one, number 6, is leading with wise behavior. Leading with wise behavior. Okay. And we hear this word, wisdom. And sometimes I think I know what that word means. And then sometimes I'm just like, I don't think I really know, like, what's the difference between wisdom and knowledge, that type of thing. Wisdom, walking in wisdom is the application of knowledge. Wisdom is the application of knowledge. I loved how we did that Trading Tuesday call with Corinne last week. And she talked about the knowing doing gap. And wisdom is not just knowing, but it's doing. It's doing what you know. And that's where a lot of people get tripped up, is they just know a lot of things and they don't do what they know. So they don't actually know those things because you only know what you know if you're doing it. Okay. I'm gonna give you guys this. Chad Beach said this at one of the conference we went to. I'm gonna give it to y'all. You can write this down. He said, inspiration is a heart thing. I'm going to tie this all together. Inspiration is a heart thing. Inspiration is a heart thing. Okay. Knowledge is a mind thing. It's a head thing. Knowledge, like information. Okay. Knowledge is a mind thing, but application is the main thing. Inspiration is a heart thing. Knowledge is a mind thing. Okay. And application is the main thing. If it doesn't make it to my feet, it's not worth it. It's not going to go anywhere. It's not going to affect the way that I live. So if you have, you can be the most inspiring person. You can have all these ideas. Okay. You can have all this information, all this knowledge. You can be studying, you can be learning, you can be doing what you're doing. Right. But if you're not actually applying those ideas, that information, the things that you're gaining, not giving it, okay, giving it in a way that's applicable for the other person, not just talking. I hope I'm making my point, okay? You got to keep the main thing, which is applying, taking action, execution, implementation. If it doesn't make it to my feet, it's not worth it. It's not going to affect the way that I live. It's not going to do anything for me or for other people, which we all are here to make an impact, okay? I hope that sticks, because that's wisdom. It's having the information, having the knowledge, having the ideas, being inspirational, whatever, and being able to apply what you know. Okay. Behavior. I'm going to talk about this for a second, because this has to do with leading with a wise behavior. Okay. Behavior. We've said this multiple times, but behavior is just all our behavior, what we do. Okay. Our patterns, our way of being is just a reflection of our beliefs. That's it. Behavior is a reflection of our beliefs. I'm never going to do what I don't believe. And I'm never going to do long enough to make a real result if I don't believe in what I'm supposed to be doing. If I don't believe that I can actually create that. If that's not what I innately believe in, I haven't closed that gap yet. Okay. And what I'm trying to do constantly every day, and it's a day thing, I'm trying to win the day. I have my long-term goals. I have my goal of being, a multiple six-figure trader, having, multiple 6-7-figure portfolio, all these things, okay, creating an insane residual income for myself. I have these goals, but I'm not so attached to those goals. I'm connected to them, but I'm not I don't let those goals take advantage of my day. Because sometimes, I've told Caitlin this the other day on one of our calls, I was like, sometimes, I'll be just completely honest, maybe some of you guys have felt this way before. I have had my alarm go off in the morning, and I immediately will go to think about where I'm supposed to be in 12 months, where I'm supposed to be in my head in 6 months or 18 months, or my big goals, and looking at how far away, it's been my perspective, how far away I am from those goals. And it will actually stop me from getting out of bed altogether. And I won't even wake up. I won't even do the things that I was supposed to do for that day. I won't hit my non-negotiables. I won't go win the day, because I'm so caught up on the fact that how far away I am from my goal. Yeah, you're probably far, but you need to flip the way that you see that, because it's not even about the distance, because if it's worth it, you'll go the distance. It's not even about don't look at it like that. I was looking at it from just such a negative, not growth conducive perspective. That's why I focus on, I have my goals. I know where I'm going. It gives me a target, but it's not my entire obsession. I'm obsessed with winning the day. I'm obsessed with stewarding what God has given me to use today and constantly trying to see, how do you see? How do you see things? Because the way that I see them isn't getting me to where I want to go. Behavior is a reflection of your beliefs. I'm always trying to close the gap between what I believe and my behavior. I'm constantly closing that gap. Because if I can build on my beliefs, I know I can change my behavior. And how do you do that? How do you build your belief? How do you change the way that you believe? How do you change your perspective? The best things that you can do is to get into rooms and environments and places and scenarios and groups that you can literally shock yourself. And you're not going to shock yourself every single time you jump on a call. You will do that when you get to events. Convention is less than 20 days away. Like, I hope you have your ticket. I hope you have everything locked in. You're getting it ready. Let's go. Like, I'm excited. I'm fired up. I cannot wait to see you guys. I can't wait to get in that room again and shock my belief system so Abby can go next level. So Abby can build her leadership. And so you guys can also build whatever you're working on right now. Okay. But you do that by getting in environments that allow you to change your perspective. Okay. Sometimes it's just me and YouTube. It's me and Chad Beach. It's me and Pastor Rich, or me and PT, or, John Melton, or Jason, if he's doing a call, or Mike. It's me. And I'm just there. And I'm like, you're elevating my belief. You're building on my belief. And belief is kind of like, until you make it a habit, until you make it, who you are, it's kind of like motivation in a way, where if you're trying to build a new belief system, that belief, it's not going to just be that one time. It's like motivation. You have to take a shower every day type of thing. Cause it goes away. It's like, you have to, it's a repetition. You have to make it muscle memory until it becomes a part of you. So I'm constantly trying to close the gap between what I believe, what I value, and my behavior. Okay. He said this was kind of good. He said, for those that spend way too much time talking and not enough time doing, okay, not enough time asking questions. Turn your talking into questions. How can I get better? What? And then that's the other thing is, if you're not doing anything, you don't have any questions, because you don't know where you're falling, where you're making mistakes, where you need improvement, because you're not doing anything. You haven't collected any data to know. Even a fool looks wise when they're silent. Even a fool looks wise when they're silent. Okay. Know yourself. Being self-aware. Behave wisely, meaning you're taking action and you're able and humble enough, grounded enough to reflect and know that just because the action I'm taking, this is so important. Actually, I'm going to just go off really quick and we're going to end this call. But this is so important. A lot of times we can be taking action and we have no reflection, and we think that just because we're taking action, we're doing what we need to do, but you're not getting the results that you want. Or, sometimes you have to give it a little longer, but we're not getting anywhere. We're not making any headspace. And so we don't make any sort of like review or reflection. And we're just kind of caught in the zone where it's like, well, I feel like I'm doing, what I'm supposed to be doing, but you haven't reflected on the data that you've collected. And then you get to a point where maybe you are reflecting on the data you collect and you realize, like, man, I don't actually have enough data to give me like some idea of if I'm doing, like, if what I'm doing is actually working. I need to give more time, or, this is just wrong. I'm just not saying, like, I need to make some critiques in my voice notes, or in the way that I, send my conversation messages, or the way that I follow up. So sometimes you just don't have enough data to reflect on, to collect, and you need to take consistent action, or maybe you need to up the amount of action that you're taking. Obviously, take it in doses for what you can handle for that day, what you can do. Okay. Not because you don't want to, or not because it's too hard or whatever. You guys get my point. But if you want to make it, this is the last part I'll say. Leadership is about leading yourself. When you can lead yourself, your day to day, you focus on winning the day. I am obsessed with winning the day. I am obsessed with winning the day. And I'm going to steward what God gave me. My hands are like this. I'm receiving and I'm giving. I'm receiving and I'm giving. I'm obsessed with winning the day. And I'm going to steward what God gave me. Even if it's what I think is little. God knows what he's doing. He's trying to work in you. Okay. And I'm going to try to see how he sees. Everything else will take care of itself. Okay. If you want to make a major transfer, you want to make an impact, a meaningful impact, it's going to first start with you making that major transfer and meaningful impact on yourself. you first have to give. Okay. You first have to have something to give. You're working on you. You're remaining a student. You're putting things out there. Everybody on this call, we all have something to give. It's going back to those things I just went over. Do you believe that you have something to give? Are you self-aware of your influence and your presence and your impact? Okay. And the other thing is, are you leading with, I would say main thing, are you leading with fresh energy? Are you ready? Are you always ready? Are you showing up? And then the biggest thing is just being able to conquer yourself, but you're not going to do it alone. I tried for the last few years. I knew of God, but I realized that you can't just know of him. You have to be with him. You have to walk with him. You have to let him in. I posted on my story yesterday or the day before, whatever it was. I was like, man, things have changed in me. And it all started when I gave God the keys. And man, that it's been a blessing. It's been crazy. So guys, that is our call. Just to recap, the three things from today. Great, effective leaders lead with self-awareness. They lead with wise behavior. And I went a little out of order, but they lead with fresh energy. They're always ready. They're always on their toes. They're always ready to give. As much as they're receiving, as much as they're getting, they're giving. And you can do that in multiple different ways. Your limitations, the areas of your life where you feel like, there's nothing that's growing. Those are the areas that God, he really wants you right there, because that's where you can lean on him. You can get close to him. You stop leaning on your own strength and understanding. And that's where you can become creative and innovative in, what you could do, what you can do. And that's what God, I think, has designed it and called us to do. Be creative. So guys, I'm going to end the call. I appreciate all of y'all for being here, for making the effort to be here on Saturday. I appreciate all the texts and everything from you guys from this last week. I'm going to try to be as active as I can in the chat and everything. Her funeral's on Tuesday. And so I'm going to be dealing with that, and just with my dad. My dad's kind of, just taking it and everything. So I'm going to be back on the 6th on Tuesday. Probably, I think my flight gets in that night. So we'll do Saturday's call. I'm just kind of rambling, but we'll do Saturday's call again, and we're going to come with some heat. But I just want to say I love you guys. I appreciate you. Have a great Saturday. Have a great weekend. And I'll talk to y'all later.